Hello, everyone. Let's continue our journey into the teachings of the Buddha. Today, we'll be exploring the second of the Four Noble Truths, the noble truth of the origin of suffering, known in Pali as samudaya. This truth answers a fundamental question: what is the cause of suffering? And at its very core lies craving and attachment, what Buddhism refers to as tanha and upadana. In this world we live in, there is joy, certainly, but also much that doesn't go the way we want it to. There are countless events that shake our hearts, leave us unsettled and cause us pain. Buddhism calls this dukkha, often translated as suffering or unsatisfactoriness, and it's this suffering that the teaching of Samudaya seeks to illuminate and explain at its root. So what did the Buddha teach? He proclaimed, there is a cause for suffering. That cause is craving, tanha, which refers to desire and attachment. But this craving is not just about wanting something. It runs deeper. It's a powerful, often unconscious compulsion arising from within. I need things to be this way, or it must not be that way. These rigid expectations and attachments become the source of our turmoil. Imagine someone who loses something deeply cherished. It could be a family member, a job, reputation, wealth, a partner, health, or freedom. Whatever it is, the question isn't just about the loss itself. It's about what happens in the heart when it's gone. Sadness, anger, anxiety, restlessness, emptiness. These emotional waves all point back to attachment. And that attachment, the Buddha taught, is what binds us to suffering. Let me share a story. During the Buddha's time, a farmer came to see him, furious and distressed. His crops had failed due to a drought. His cattle were sick. He constantly argued with his wife. His son wouldn't listen to him. He was drowning in debt. You claim to be an enlightened one, the farmer said. Can you solve all my problems? The Buddha looked at him calmly and replied, perhaps I can help you with some of your problems. But you must understand every person has 84 problems in life. These are unavoidable. And if you want to avoid having the 85th problem, then you must stop clinging to the idea that life should be free of problems. The farmer was puzzled. The 85th problem? What is that? The Buddha answered gently, it is the desire to have no problems. This simple story beautifully conveys the essence of samudaya. The problem isn't merely the circumstances we face. It's our mental fixation on how things should be. That yearning, that grasping, is the true source of suffering. In Buddhism, this kind of attachment is part of what we call kilesa, or defilements. Among these three stand as the most fundamental: lobha greed, dosa aversion, and moha delusion. Together, they're known as the three poisons. Lobha is craving or grasping, always wanting more. Dosa is anger or ill will, reacting with hostility when reality doesn't conform to our expectations. Moha is ignorance, not understanding the true nature of reality. These three poisons cloud our minds and perpetuate suffering. The Buddha likened them to fire. When these defilements burn, our hearts burn too. So to understand samudaya is not merely to accept that desire is bad, or that we shouldn't get angry. It's about looking deeper, observing how our minds operate, and seeing what's really behind our reactions. Often it's our ego, our past wounds, or our fear of the future that drives our grasping. For example, when we feel hurt by someone, it's not just the act itself that stings. It's the underlying belief I should be treated with respect, or they shouldn't act this way toward me. When those expectations are betrayed, suffering arises. And in many cases, it's not the event itself, but our rigid beliefs about how the world should be that cause us pain. Practicing samudaya begins with examining our thought patterns. What are we clinging to? What are we depending on for our happiness? Can we observe those attachments without judgment and gradually let them go? This process is the path to inner freedom. Of course, this is no simple task. Even the Buddha did not attain awakening overnight. Through long meditation and deep inquiry, he came to understand that all suffering originates from craving. And to counteract this craving, he taught the Noble Eightfold Path. This is an important point. Samudaya doesn't end with simply identifying the cause of suffering. If there is a cause, then there is also a way to influence the outcome. That is where hope lies in Buddhism. By removing the cause, we can transform the result. Let's say you suffer in your relationships. If you become aware of the craving, expectations, or fears underlying that suffering, your relationship with those situations might begin to shift. The pain may not vanish, but the way you engage with it can change. Your suffering becomes less controlling. Digging deeper, the Buddha described 3 types of craving that underlie our suffering. The first is craving for sense pleasures, kamatanha. This is the desire for delicious food, comfort, beauty, the pleasures that stimulate our senses. The second is craving for existence, bhavatanha. This is the desire to become, to continue being, to achieve recognition, status, or permanence in our identity. The third is craving for non-existence, vibhavatanha. This one is subtler, the desire to escape reality, to disappear, or to obliterate uncomfortable parts of our experience. Sometimes it manifests as self-destructive tendencies. These 3 cravings never truly rest. Fulfill one and another arises. It's an endless thirst. No matter how much water you drink, you're thirsty again. That's why the word craving fits so well. Take a moment to reflect on modern life. When you pick up your smartphone and scroll through social media, what are you seeking? Is it information or validation? We rejoice in likes and shares, or we compare ourselves to others and feel down. That's craving at work in a modern disguise. Or consider career ambitions. We strive for promotions, recognition, success. But once we get them, new goals arise. Just a little more becomes an unending loop. Even in love, we may find the ideal partner, but eventually see their flaws, lose the initial excitement, and begin searching again for someone better or more understanding. In all these cases, the common thread is the sense that the present moment isn't enough, and it is this dissatisfaction that breeds suffering. The Buddha saw this pattern 2,500 years ago. So, can we ever become truly free from craving and attachment? The Buddha's answer was yes, but it's not instantaneous. It requires gradual insight and practice. The first step is awareness, to notice what we're attached to and what kinds of craving drive us. This is not easy because we often accept our desires as natural or harmless. For example, you may wake up and want coffee. A small craving, yes, but Buddhist mindfulness asks, what is the underlying mind state? Is there a sense of, I need this, or I can't start the day without it? That's where craving lies. The second step is understanding, realizing that these cravings can never be fully satisfied, and that they are a source of our suffering. The third stage is letting go, and this is perhaps the most difficult step of all. Even if we understand it intellectually, it is not easy to release our attachments on an emotional level. This is where meditation and daily mindfulness practice become essential. What's particularly interesting is that the Buddha never said, hate your attachments. He didn't advocate seeing them as enemies. Instead, he taught us to understand our attachments and to face them with a heart full of compassion. This is because hatred toward attachment itself becomes another form of attachment. A Zen master once said, clouds do not taint the sky. Even with clouds, the sky remains the sky. Desires do not taint the mind. Even with desires, the mind remains the mind. These words hold profound wisdom. The goal is not to completely eliminate our desires or attachments, but to cultivate a mind that does not get swept away by them. The teachings of Samudaya, understanding the origin of suffering, offer insights not only into personal pain, but also into the roots of societal suffering. War, poverty, environmental destruction. At the core of these issues lie human greed, anger, and ignorance. Facing our own defilements becomes a step toward addressing greater problems in the world. Let me also introduce another important concept: dependent origination, or paticca samuppada. Everything exists in relation to something else. Nothing stands alone. When this understanding deepens, we begin to see through the illusion of a solid, independent self, which is often the object of our attachment. What we think of as me is actually a collection of memories, emotions, thoughts, sensations, and consciousness. There is no fixed, permanent entity. As our understanding of anatta, non-self, deepens, we start to see the fundamental structure of our attachments more clearly. And this understanding is not nihilistic. On the contrary, it opens the door to true freedom. By being liberated from the illusion of a fixed self, we gain a broader perspective and naturally develop compassion for others. Now let's talk a bit more concretely about how to apply the practice of samudaya in daily life. How can we make use of this teaching in our everyday routines? First, it's helpful to create moments during the day to pause and reflect. In our fast-paced modern lives, we're constantly being pushed and pulled, and we rarely stop to check in with our own minds. Even just a few minutes, several times a day, to ask ourselves, how is my mind right now, can make a big difference. Next, we can observe ourselves when strong emotions arise: anger, sadness, anxiety, excitement. Rather than reacting immediately, we can take a step back and ask, why did this emotion arise? And what expectation or attachment lies behind it? Awareness of small desires is also important. Wanting a cup of coffee, craving something sweet, seeking approval, longing for a quiet space. When these everyday desires arise, we can gently ask, do I really need this? Or could I be okay without it? This isn't about suppressing desires or denying them. It's not about rejecting the presence of desire, but about cultivating a mind that isn't controlled by it. If you want coffee, go ahead and drink it. But if you can't have it, there's no need to be upset. It's about developing that kind of mental spaciousness. Finally, I want to touch on the hope that the teaching of samudaya brings. When we see the cause of suffering clearly, it means we also have the potential to remove it and be freed from that suffering. This is not just some unattainable ideal. Many practitioners have walked this path and have truly found peace of mind. Even if we don't reach complete liberation, just understanding the nature of attachment more deeply can noticeably reduce everyday suffering. Conflicts in relationships, stress at work, anxiety about the future. We can learn to respond to all of these with more calmness and compassion. And perhaps most importantly, remember that this journey is not a lonely one. You're not walking this path alone. There are others who are struggling too, and who are also seeking freedom. Within such a community, we can support and grow alongside each other. So, how does that sound? Today, we explored samudaya, the origin of suffering. It lies in desire, anger, ignorance, in other words, in the defilements, and at the heart of it all is attachment, which binds and torments the mind. But the clearer we see the cause, the clearer the way out becomes. And that leads us to the next teachings: Nirodha, the cessation of suffering, and Magga, the path leading to its cessation. These teachings, even after 2,500 years, offer profound and practical wisdom for our modern lives. You don't have to be perfect. Just deepen your understanding at your own pace, step by step. Next time, we'll explore Nirodha together. What does it mean for suffering to cease? Is that truly possible? I look forward to diving into those questions with you. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you've had an experience where letting go of attachment lightened your heart, please share it with us. Thank you so much.